What's up, everybody? It is summertime, and it is hot down here because it's summer and also because my studio isn't very well ventilated. We are going to be talking about comic books. I've been reading so many comic books lately to get ready for this summer's DC comic book event, the Year of the Villain. As mentioned in a previous video, my friend Trevor decided that we should cover some of the DC comic book events this summer, and so that's just what we're going to do. But it's kind of hard to figure out what's going on, what you should know going into it, what you should follow for the event. Sometimes comic books can be a little bit confusing with their marketing and their messaging, so I'm here to help out with that and also announce what we're going to be covering, give you a little bit of backstory and all that stuff. So DC's big event right now is called the Year of the Villain, and it actually starts, well, the preamble for it already kicked off a little bit, but it kind of actually starts tomorrow. That'll be May 29th. The introduction that we have right now is called DC's Year of the Villain Special 1. I think it costs 25 cents, but you can get it digitally for free. What that does is it sets up the storylines that we're going to be using for the rest of the year by kind of bringing everybody up to the same point so that even if you haven't been following a ton of stuff up to that point, you can at least get a good starting point to jump in at so that you can follow along with everybody else. I've done a little bit of research to try to catch up, but it's not necessary. Hopefully I can do the necessary catch up for you right now. So just in case you're unfamiliar, comic book events are these big things where there will usually be one main series that goes through, and that covers the main events, but also every single other hero will kind of tie into it. If you're unfamiliar with comics, think the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where sometimes Iron Man shows up in the Captain America movies, or the Hulk shows up in the Thor movies. It's kind of like that. But instead of just being one character, it could be whole like arcs taking place over different characters' comic books. It's a cool thing for fans to be able to see everybody interacting in this way, but it's also a cool way for them to make money by selling more comic books. I'll be covering some of the schedule that we have coming up, but in the meantime, first I'll set you up with what is Year of the Villain. Well, the Year of the Villain special starts us off with 4 different sections of what's kind of going on, and I'll try to fill you in on what they mean. In the first section of Year of the Villain Special 1, we get to see something that's kind of been building up in the Justice League comic book series, which is that Lex Luthor has reunited the Legion of Doom, which is essentially the bad guy version of the Justice League, and he has some kind of evil, nefarious purpose, as he always does because he's Lex Luthor. And the beginning of this comic sees Lex Luthor take out the president, presumably knocked him out, he wasn't lethal, and then he gives Brainiac his plan, who thinks that it's crazy, but that it will work. So you know that Lex Luthor has this crazy plan, and then Lex Luthor tells everyone to go away. He's sitting at the top of LexCorp, he presses a button and explodes himself, blows up the entire top of the building, and kills himself. What the heck does that mean, and how does that relate to a plan that he had going? That's the stuff they've kind of been hinting at in the Justice League comic book series. I think we're going to continue to see some more of that in potentially Superman stories, of course the Justice League stories, and maybe more. We'll see as we go. In part 2, we're introduced to a character that's been going around in the Superman series, and he's called Leviathan. I believe Leviathan was introduced in 2016, but he's kind of been changed over time, at least that's what Trevor tells me. And he's been going around and disbanding and destroying all the different secret societies, both good and bad. We get to see him approach Barbara Gordon and try to recruit her to his team, but we're not really sure where that goes. At the end of this section, there's a hint that the Leviathan character might actually be Jason Todd, also known as the Red Hood from some of the Batman series. So generally, I thought this was going to be a little more Superman focused, but we have Barbara Gordon, we have Batman and Robin in this character arc. I'm not sure who all is going to be involved in Event Leviathan, which is another mini-event part of Year of the Villain. This is the one that got Trevor interested in the first place. Part 3 of the issue, we get to see a little bit more of the Justice League talking about this other threat that also has been presumably building in the Justice League comics, which is that there was this thing at the end of our galaxy or something called the Source Wall. Ever since the Source Wall has been broken, crazy cosmic stuff has been happening, and it looks like some goddess of some sort has resurrected Lex Luthor already and is working on some other crazy plan, building her massive army to come towards Earth to enact some evil plan. So Batman says that they have to make the Justice League even bigger. The final segment that we see here is something called Batman Last Night on Earth. This is being billed as the final conclusion to the Batman storyline that Scott Snyder started in 2011. That's why I made that video on Batman Volume 1. I also have a video on Batman Volume 2 that I'm going to be talking about, but there was 10 volumes of that story arc. That is amazing all the way through. If you guys are interested, I can talk about that stuff. I just finished it myself, and it was so good. I loved it. But this is kind of the wrap-up to that storyline, and that comes out tomorrow. Additionally, there's another issue of another comic called Superman Leviathan Rising. It's a special edition comic also coming out tomorrow. So now that I've summarized that You're the Villain special episode 1, let's get down to what you need to read to try to catch up to these storylines. I'll try to keep this as succinct as possible, but it's kind of hard to find. It's not super easy if you're just trying to get a quick look at it. I didn't see a lot of helpful things out there trying to provide this information, so maybe this is something I can help you with. So if you're interested in trying to do any catch-up before all of this stuff really gets popping off, some of it happens May 29th tomorrow, or maybe the day you're seeing this video, I'm not sure. If you want to catch up on the Batman stuff, just go read Scott Snyder's Batman 2011 through 2016, volumes 1 through 10. That should get you caught up for that section. If you want to get caught up for Lex Luthor and the Legion of Doom stuff, I recommend you just go read Justice League 1 through 25. And for more direct stuff relating to Leviathan, there's a couple different routes you can do. For the origin of Leviathan, you should go back to Batman Incorporated. That was also new with the New 52. If you go back and read Volume 1 and Volume 2 of that, and the one-off issue Batman Incorporated Leviathan Strikes, that will give you the origins of the Leviathan and that whole villain. For what Leviathan has been up to lately, check out Action Comics 1007 to 1011. That arc is Leviathan Rising, and it leads kind of directly into this Year of the Villain stuff. Though I checked with Trevor, who's actually read those, and he said it kind of doesn't add a lot to what we could have gotten just from the Year of the Villain, which is that Leviathan is going around and destroying all these secret societies. So now you may be asking yourself the question, so how do I follow this storyline moving forward? Well, the end of the Year of the Villain issue gives you a kind of broad schedule, but it's laid out in a way that can be very confusing. Because, as I mentioned, there's tie-ins from all these different comics, there's somewhere around 20 different comics that could be related to this stuff. However, just from my guessing and my research and my history with comic stuff in the past, most of these aren't going to be super critical to follow the main story. Each week I'm going to try to get you an update video with what are the main comics that we're going to be pulling for that week, as well as kind of where we are in the story and what we're talking about. First things first, Wednesday, the 29th, the comics that we're going to be pulling and talking about this week are Batman Last Night on Earth and Superman Leviathan Rising. These are both, I think, one-off issues that are a little bit larger than normal, but they're the books that we're going to be talking about this week and making videos of and maybe podcasts of. And so if you want to stay current with what we're talking about, those are the two books you need to look at tomorrow or today whenever you're watching this video. Batman Last Night on Earth and Superman Leviathan Rising Special 1, I think is the full title. So for videos talking about those two comic books, make sure to subscribe to WackMatters, this channel here, and hit that bell to get notifications about future videos that are going to be coming out soon. Additionally, my friend Trevor is going to be covering the more philosophical angle of the comic books and the storyline that are going on over on his podcast at the Socratic Circle. We're really looking forward to having a good time with the comics this summer, and we're really hoping that you'll join us and be able to follow along with the content that we're producing to try to spark some conversation and discussion around this. Myself, I've been marathoning comics trying to get ready for this event, and so I'm just really excited and really ready to go. I'm excited for what's happening tomorrow, and I honestly wish I could just stay up and read it tonight, but I don't think the comics post until 8 a.m. We'll find out. For the rest of June, the main stuff that we're going to be looking forward to a little bit further are June 5th, Justice League issue 25 is going to be coming out. That's going to be continuing the storyline and going along with the things that we've been talking about. And also Event Leviathan 1, which is going to be a 6-part series that has to do with just the Leviathan stuff, is also coming out. We're going to be planning on getting that as well. But if anything changes, remember to stay tuned to both the Socratic Circle podcast and also the WackMatters YouTube channel. We're going to be updating any of the stuff that we might be changing along the way there or here. Anyway, what are your guys' experiences with comic books? Have you ever read them before? There's never been a better time to start reading comic books than a big summer event like this. Don't be afraid about jumping in kind of what seems like the middle of something. That's just kind of how comic books work, and we're going to be trying to explain anything that may be confusing as we go along. If you have read comic books and you really like them, or there's something you've liked in comic books in the past, go ahead and comment that below. I'm interested to find out because I like comic books and I like to go back and read arcs that are awesome. If you like this video or want to see other videos about comic books, make sure to give this a thumbs up, and we look forward to celebrating comic books with all of you this summer. Thank you for watching.